Breaking tonight, for the first time since terrorists hit Paris and San Bernardino, the Republicans vying to be the next commander-in-chief square off in the final GOP debate of 2015. Welcome to the Kelly File, everyone. I'm Megyn Kelly. In recent weeks, terrorism has become the issue for American voters, and national security is certain to play a big role at tonight's debate. But tonight's contest also comes at an interesting time in this race, as two candidates in particular appear to have taken control at the polls. Nationally, Donald Trump has opened up huge leads. According to the ABC News Washington Post poll, Mr. Trump is up 38-15 over his closest competitor, Ted Cruz. His lead is even larger when you look at Monmouth's polling. In that, he's at 41%. His next closest competitor, Senator Cruz, is at 14%. By the way, we showed this same poll to you last night with a graphic which correctly reflected Trump's 27-point lead, but we described it verbally as a 15-point lead. Our apologies for that error. So Trump continues to dominate nationally, but when you drill down to the first state that will actually vote, Iowa, it is a different story. While Mr. Trump leads in the latest Quinnipiac poll in Iowa by 1 percentage point, he finds himself trailing Senator Cruz in polling by Fox News and by the well-respected Des Moines Register. The Fox poll out of the Hawkeye State has Ted Cruz on top by 2 points, while Senator Cruz's lead is even larger in that Bloomberg Politics Des Moines Register poll, 31-21% over Donald Trump. This battle at the top adds a new dynamic to this race. For months, Cruz and Trump have been relatively friendly on the campaign trail. But as the polls tighten, that relationship appears to be growing a little bit more frosty, with Cruz seeming to question Trump's judgment during a private fundraiser, and Trump suggesting that Cruz is a maniac. In moments, we will talk about the state of the race with Washington Times political columnist Charles Hurt and National Review editor Rich Lowry. But we begin with our chief political correspondent, campaign Carl Cameron, reporting live from Las Vegas. Carl?
Hi, Megyn. And one of the great controversies that has come out of this ongoing debate among the candidates about terrorism and national security is Donald Trump's comment that there should be a temporary ban on new Muslim immigrants and visitors to the United States. And for that, there has been a tremendous amount of criticism, and there will continue to be from a lot of his rivals. As for Ted Cruz has been studious in trying not to criticize Donald Trump in public, but you're right, his raised questions behind closed doors about whether or not both Trump and Ben Carson have the necessary judgment to deal with the types of national security issues that now face the world and the United States has caused a lot of friction between the two of them. Now, there's a number of different dynamics here. Ted Cruz has also been almost in a constant bicker fest with Marco Rubio over their various different national security votes as fellow members of the Republican majority of the U.S. Senate. Rubio has slipped a little bit behind Ted Cruz, who, as you point out, continues to surge. This debate tonight is a huge opportunity for Cruz, but he also faces tremendous tests as to whether or not he can take the heat from the incoming of an entire field. When you get past Marco Rubio, the other person to watch tonight, Chris Christie, the governor of New Jersey, has been surging in New Hampshire. In some polls, he's now moved up to second place. He's making the argument that real experience and steady judgment is necessary, arguing that these outsiders just don't have it. We are now just a couple of weeks before the holidays, and the next debate, of course, isn't until the middle of January. That's a Fox Business debate, and that will come 2 weeks before the Iowa caucuses. It's going to be bitter, lots of fighting. Some voters are obviously going to be looking forward to the holidays just to get a break from some of the fighting that we're now seeing.
Carl, why is everybody so in love with the Des Moines Register and its polling? What's so great about their polling?
Well, it's a couple things. They have been polling in Iowa for decades, and they have in the past been fairly accurate. The paper has a reputation for being somewhat liberal in Iowa, so Republicans are quick to criticize it. And Trump has argued that the Des Moines Register has been unfair to him. Now, it is, however, the poll that shows that Ted Cruz has jumped out to a 10-point lead in Iowa, so it's fair to assume that Donald Trump is never going to like the results of their polls unless he's leading in them. But the Iowa caucuses are a quirky game. Only 120,000 is the record turnout there, so the state's largest newspaper can have outsized influence.
Carl, great to see you.
You bet, Megyn. Thanks.
Joining us now with more, Charles Hurt, Washington Times political columnist, and Rich Lowry, National Review editor and Fox News contributor. Great to see you both.
Hi, Megyn.
So Rich, the stakes tonight appear to be biggest for Ted Cruz and Marco Rubio, who everyone is predicting may go at it. Trump may play as well. We don't know what he'll do. But some people are describing this as a make-or-break-it night for Carson, for Jeb Bush, for Fiorina. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, well, Carson needs to show, and I'm a fan of his, but he needs to show that he belongs on the big stage discussing national security. And the conventional wisdom, you remember, Megyn, after the Paris attack, oh, it's going to hurt the guys who have no political experience, Trump and Carson. Well, it didn't hurt Trump at all. In fact, it helped him, but it has hurt Carson. And that's because on substantive issue after substantive issue, he hasn't seemed to know his own brief. So the stakes are high for him tonight, no doubt about it.
He all but admitted that in an interview with CNN earlier today and said he wants to show that he can hack it on this debate when it comes to national security tonight. Charlie, let me ask you about what everybody's wondering, which is what's going to happen between Cruz and Trump. They played nice. You know, Cruz said something mildly critical of Trump behind closed doors. Trump came out and questioned whether he was really an evangelical. Trump came out and questioned his opposition to ethanol subsidies in Iowa. Trump came out and questioned all sorts of things about Ted Cruz, calling him a maniac, and because he can't get along with the establishment, which sent Limbaugh and Levin into, shock, saying that's just stupid. That's just a stupid attack against Ted Cruz. Your thoughts on how aggressive Trump goes against Cruz tonight?
I think, as much as everybody would like to see a big smackdown between the two of them, I think, quite frankly, the episode that you mentioned earlier where Ted Cruz was recorded criticizing Donald Trump, Ted Cruz really would rather not have had that come out. And the reason I think is this, that Ted Cruz is trying to run as an outsider. And it's very easy to run as an outsider. Remember, as a senator, to run as an outsider and get into a fight with, Marco Rubio. But if you get into a fight trying to be the outsider with Donald Trump, who is the sort of ultimate outsider in all of this, both outsider of politics and goodness knows, outsider of GOP politics, because, the establishment would do anything to make him go away. Ted Cruz is going to have a hard time winning that fight with him. And so I think that Ted Cruz he poked the bear with those comments that were reported in the New York Times. And I think he would kind of wish that they would all go away. I think that Ted Cruz will very much be focused on others tonight. And I honestly, I don't even know if Donald Trump is going to try to mix it up that much with him. But I do think that, as all those other episodes that you've pointed out, we're going to see a lot more of that sort of on the campaign trail and in some of Trump's rallies. Because
the thing is, Rich, there is some risk. Unlike the attacks he's made on others, there's some risk to Trump if he goes after Cruz hard with those same lines of attack. You lose Limbaugh and Levin, it'll hurt you if you're Donald Trump. Potentially, that really could hurt him.
Yeah, and it's been surprising the tack Trump has taken against Cruz, because as Charlie's alluding to, if you're Donald Trump, the ultimate outsider, and you want to take on a U.S. senator who's trying to tiptoe by you in Iowa, you should attack him as a political insider. Now, Cruz is kind of an outsider's insider because everyone in the Senate hates him, but compared to Trump, he's the ultimate political insider. Instead, Trump hit him on ethanol subsidies and being a maniac and not getting along with people, and that's just not the way to go after Cruz. And I agree with Charlie. I think the moderators will try to stoke this debate tonight, but I'm not sure Trump engages. And even if Trump does engage, Cruz has every incentive to do what he has to this point with Trump, which is
alienate Trump's base, right?
Exactly.
He can't alienate those Trump supporters, and yet he needs them. If he wants to win Iowa, if he wants to win this race, he's going to have to get those Trump supporters on board the Cruz train.
Yeah, he's trying to outmaneuver Trump. You've seen others try to frontally confront Trump and not having it work. Cruz is trying to tiptoe around.
Is it just me, or is that term, I don't like that term, frontally confront. It just takes me to places I don't want to picture. Charlie, let me ask you about Jeb Bush.
I would never make an inappropriate reference like that.
I know, right, I know, never. What about Jeb Bush? I mean, is he still relevant?
To imagine where we were 6 months ago, Megyn, and to look at where we are now in terms of Jeb Bush, who was the absolute, the establishment nominee. He raised huge amounts of money. He still has huge amounts of money. There's still huge amounts of money in his super PAC. It's absolutely astonishing. And honestly, I think that, Donald Trump doesn't even really attack him anymore.
Yeah.
And that's a testament to how badly he's kind of beaten him down. And so I would say that he has not been very relevant for probably a month or so now, but especially not so now. And it is a stark warning for Republicans and the establishment when they think that they can sort of pick who they want to run the long race with, and voters just absolutely flatly reject it.
Yep, the GOP voters this time around have said, I don't think so. Great to see you both.
Thanks, Megyn.